I remember back in 2017 when Bitcoin crashed, there was somebody on the internet, I guess somebody who didn't like what I had to say. And and she says, "See, this shows Dr. Boyce don't know what he's talking about. He was telling everybody to buy Bitcoin, and Bitcoin's crashed. Bitcoin went down from 8,000, now it's down to 2,000. It was something like that, right?" And the person was saying this, and I was like, "But wait, you haven't even you're predicting the end of the movie, and you watched the first 30 seconds. You can't predict the end of a movie by watching the first 30 seconds. You got to wait till the movie's over." And the thing about Bitcoin, if Bitcoin were a movie, the movie called Bitcoin the movie, that's a good name for it. That movie is literally not even one tenth of the way done. Like, do you understand? I mean, we think that we've seen this whole journey. We think that it's almost like those people that have been like dating somebody for like 9 months, and they swear that they know their partner inside out. And then they they meet a couple that's like, no, we've been married 70 years, so you don't know nothing yet. You ain't even got started. You know, or then you get to the 5 year mark, and you're like, woo, we done been through some things. And then some older couple comes along and says, no, no, no. I used to think that when I was at the 5 year mark. But this is a marathon. This is not a sprint. So the thing about investing that's really important to understand is that it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. You think that you know things. You know, you buy, and I go through this a lot. I'll recommend a stock to, that I like. I'll just throw it out there. Not investing advice, but I'll tell people, hey, I'm buying this stock, and then I'll see somebody at, a conference or something, and they'll say, hey, you told me to buy that stock 2 weeks ago, and it's made me so much money. That was a great recommendation. And I'm like, but it's been 2 weeks. You don't know nothing in 2 weeks is nothing. Warren Buffett says if you're not prepared to own an asset for 10 years, you should not even own it for 10 minutes. He's extreme in that regard. I don't necessarily think that you have to think that way, but if you consider the fact that this man is sitting on $170 billion in cash, he obviously knows something. And one of his best attributes is patience. Patience is really important when it comes to investing. Sometimes the best sometimes the best way to exhibit patience is to just sit there and not do anything. Just wait, right? So if you want to buy Bitcoin and crypto and all that stuff, you can buy it on Robinhood. You can buy it on Coinbase. You just go in there, look up Bitcoin, and it'll pop up. And and also, if you're interested in various forms of investing, we do have a Black Stock Market program. Somebody type this URL in the chat. For anybody that wants to do a free trial, you can go to theblackstockmarketprogram.com. THE. That's theblackstockmarketprogram.com. The first month is 100% free. We do Stock Market Tuesday, where all we do is we talk about stock market stuff, and you can ask me a million questions. And and it's a great program for a fair price. And actually, speaking of that, tonight also I'm doing this special event called How to Turn Your Child into a Millionaire. And a lot of you I know have already signed up. And if you want to go to kiddieboss.com, KIDDIE boss.com, you can get information there. Also, I'll text the link out for you guys a little bit later on this afternoon. So you're going to get a couple of texts from me later on today. So just be ready for that. If you want to get text from us, just text the word morning, MORNING, to the number 87948. So text morning to 87948. And we will send you information, and we'll let you guys know when we're doing special events in the Black Business School. And so this is going to happen tonight, and I'm super excited. This is going to be a lot of fun. I guarantee you it's going to change your perspective. I doubt you've ever really seen this breakdown anywhere else. Not to say that I'm special or anything, but I've taught in a lot of different business schools. I taught at Ohio State University. They didn't teach stuff like this. I taught at Syracuse University. They didn't teach stuff like this. I taught at the University of Kentucky. They didn't teach stuff like this. I taught in China. They didn't teach stuff like this. I've taught in Europe. I've taught in Africa. I've taught all around the world. And so basically, I haven't seen any place that kind of applies these models. And one thing I can tell you is that there are studies out here, and I'll cite a couple of them for you, that pretty much show that if you give your child exposure to basic economic concepts at an early age, it just really takes them to another level. And so part of generational wealth means not just transferring money, but it really means transferring knowledge and transferring culture. So don't just think about the money, because if you give them money and you don't give them knowledge and culture, then they're not going to do anything good with the money. They're going to waste their money. 70% of all wealthy families lose all their wealth in one generation. 70%, 90% of all wealthy families lose all their wealth in two generations. You don't believe me? Just ask Anderson Cooper, who's related to the Vanderbilts. The Vanderbilts used to be right up there with the Rockefellers. Anybody know that? that? How many of y'all know that? How many of y'all know the Vanderbilts? Have you heard of the Vanderbilts? You've heard of Vanderbilt University, right? So the Vanderbilts and the Rockefellers were neck and neck in terms of wealth, and but now they're not neck and neck. The Vanderbilts have the world's foot on their neck, and the Rockefellers are still balling out of control. If you're a Rockefeller, you're probably rich because the Rockefellers had a wealth plan. They transfer generational culture, generational knowledge to go with the generational wealth. So the knowledge and the culture must be companions with the wealth. If they don't blend, then the wealth will disappear. You don't believe me? Just go look at all the rappers who sign multi-million dollar deals, end up broke as soon as their next record doesn't sell a million copies. If you don't believe me, look at how many athletes sign $100 million contracts, end up broke because they have bad economic culture. So you have to pass the culture. You have to pass the culture. You have to shape the culture for one that's going to create wealth because student loans don't create black wealth. Black jobs do not create black wealth. The only thing that creates black wealth is culture. Black culture creates black wealth. And when I talk about black culture, I'm talking about real black culture, not BET culture, not hip hop culture, not the culture you see on TV. I'm talking about culture that you're creating in your household that says that when we get assets, we grow them, we protect them, we build them, we unite as a family, we make sure we fill our brains with knowledge, we have discipline to apply that knowledge, and then it becomes very easy. If you can do those things, then wealth becomes an easy thing. It's not even hard anymore. So anyway, let me mention something that's really interesting that kind of got my attention. Does anybody know about Alex Jones? How many of you heard about Alex Jones? You know Alex Jones, the guy from InfoWars? Alex Jones is a trip. He's just he talks like this. He has a robot person. When he talks, right? That's how he. I don't even know how he talks. That's gotta hurt your throat, man. Whew. I'm already coughing. But yeah, that's how he talks. He's like, folks, I just need you to understand that what they're doing in this Biden administration is absolutely ridiculous. Well, check this out. So Alex Jones, he was in the news recently because he got sued. Did y'all hear how he got sued? Y'all know why he got sued? He got sued. It's not funny. It's not actually. I'm gonna stop laughing because the reason he got sued is not funny at all. You know that whole incident at Sandy Hook, which broke my heart. You saw those poor little children that got killed, and it was really sad. The saddest picture from Sandy Hook that I saw was just like a parking lot full of little tiny body bags, with that small enough for a 6-year-old. And if that don't break your heart, then something's wrong. Then you don't have one, So I saw that and I said, man, this is so sad. Well, Alex Jones was convinced that it was a conspiracy. He was convinced that it was just, like a government operation or something. And again, I'm not going to sit here and say that these things are not possible. I'm just going to say that if it's not true, then that's a pretty heavy thing to say. And I think and I know it hurt a lot of the parents that were victims of this, right? And I know people have different opinions. Do I believe conspiracies happen? Yes, they do. There's proof, there's evidence that conspiracies have occurred. Usually don't find out for like another 40 or 50 years, but they do happen. But in this particular case, the parents sued him. He went to court, and they literally issued a judgment, a verdict against him for some massive amount of money, like $1.5 billion, right? So this guy who's pretty much pretty much a YouTuber, a glorified YouTuber, that's pretty much what he is, right? He gets this verdict for $1.5 million, which is just like holy crap. And he, I guess he was fighting to not pay the verdict. And the court was like, you're gonna have to pay something. So one of the things that they forced him to do was he had to auction off his whole InfoWars platform. And so InfoWars was just purchased by this other platform called The Onion. And The Onion is interesting because The Onion is satire. Like they just write these crazy articles, these crazy headlines. I didn't even know this was even legal. This is, because to me that's worse than AI. Because they'll have you ever seen that where somebody will see an article from The Onion and it'll be like they'll take a little bit of reality, but then they'll kind of stretch it a little bit, and then people will believe it. People will share those articles as if they're real, and they're not real. It's all satire, and they put that in the fine print. This is just a joke. This is just satire, but it's amazing. I can't believe that's even legal. But they now own the whole platform. They literally own all of his camera equipment, his set, the set he does his show. They own his I guess his Instagrams and Twitter accounts or whatever he has for that. They own his email list or he emails out his content. And it says here that the satirical news publication The Onion won the bidding war for Alex Jones' InfoWars at a bankruptcy auction backed by the families of Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting victims who Jones owes more than $1 billion in defamation judgments for calling the massacre a hoax. The dissolution of Alex Jones' assets and the death of InfoWars is the justice we have long waited for and fought for, says Robbie Parker, whose daughter Emily, who she lost her life that day at Sandy Hook. And so basically, this is interesting because what this speaks on to me is just theories on the protection of wealth. One of the things that I've mentioned to you all is we've talked a little bit about how the internet has kind of created this space of free speech, which is very, very good. But one of the problems is that sometimes it gets out of control. And you get to the point where people are fighting for views on their channel, so they do outrageous things in order to get views. And again, I'm not here to say that you don't have a right to say that, I believe what Alex said. Maybe you do. Maybe you do. But either way, though, there's a consequence to these kinds of things. And one part of wealth protection really does come down to protecting your assets from liability that might come from what could be described as reckless, irresponsible behavior. If you define that to be irresponsible, I kind of do, honestly. I just really I don't really understand exactly why he would say something like that. I saw the evidence and I wasn't convinced, but it doesn't matter what I think. But I do know that there are different theories on wealth actually about this kind of thing. There's something called moral hazard, and I'll read some of this to you. And it says moral hazard occurs when one party takes an excessive risk because they don't bear the full consequences of their actions. So if you have somebody like an Alex Jones who has a large platform and he can say whatever he wants, that is a form of moral hazard. Moral hazard is a very big theory in the field of finance. Another another example might be of moral hazard might be if you see a kid that goes off to college and he knows that whenever he crashes his car, his parents are just going to buy him a new one, then he's gonna drive irresponsibly. Why? Well, because you haven't taught him consequences. He doesn't feel the brunt of the responsibility for what he does. So I remember when I went to college, my parents said, if you get locked up and you go to jail, you're gonna just be in jail. If you mess up and throw away your money, then that's gonna be your money. We're not bailing you out. And that made me more conscious of taking risks. That made me more careful. But I think that if they had said, hey, don't worry, whenever you have a problem, we'll fix it for you, I don't know if that would have created the same incentive. So basically, academic studies have shown that moral hazard behaviors can lead to steep financial consequences because the stakeholders might withdraw support or you might have legal actions, things like that. So if Alex Jones feels like he can just get in there and say whatever he wants and there's no consequence to it, then he might be more inclined to take more risk. But now that he's been sued publicly and there's so much of his wealth that's been pretty much drained from this lawsuit, same thing with Tasha K. I actually know Tasha K. I've been on her show a couple times, but she said some things, and then Cardi B, I guess, sued her and won the lawsuit. And so what happens is that the other content creators see that and they're like, oh, wait a minute, whoa, we thought we could just get in here and say whatever we wanted because for a long time, and I've been doing YouTube stuff for many years, over probably 15 years now or something like that. And I created my first YouTube channel in 2007, but I didn't really pay attention to YouTube until 2013. I wish I'd started doing more in 2007, 2008, but whatever, it's life. And so one thing I've noticed over time in terms of the evolution is before mainstream people never paid attention to YouTubers, and then YouTubers started getting bigger platforms. And actually, another recent set of events that really made people pay more attention to what was happening online. Two things. One was the pandemic, because suddenly all the TV production and movie production and all this stuff got shut down. The studios weren't doing anything, so a lot of the celebrities started coming on YouTube. That was when you saw the creation of Club Shay Shay and stuff like that. And then now you have the presidential election literally being defined and decided by people with podcasts. A lot of people have stopped watching mainstream media. How many of you, give me a yes in the chat right now if you just don't really watch TV that much anymore? Give me a yes if you watch less TV now than you did, say, 5 or 6 or 7 years ago. How many of you are in that category? I know I am. I don't watch TV at all. I mean, I got a TV in my office right there. I'm looking at it. I turn that thing on about once every 2 months. Every 2 months. I go in the other room. I have a man cave. My wife let me have one and I love it. And it's a big 70-inch TV because that's how dudes are. First thing we do is we get a big TV so we can, for some reason, watching the football game and seeing the players up close just makes the experience that much better. I have no idea. It's very weird. Anyway, pause. Let's just say pause and no diddy about that, right? Shouldn't, isn't that the right way to do it? But anyway, so I got the big 70-inch TV and with the big stereo speaker system. And I go in there probably about once every I watch that one about once a week and I'll watch NFL football highlights and maybe I'll watch like half of a movie or something, or maybe I'll go to there's this show on Disney. Hulu owns Disney. I don't know who owns who. The streaming service is all confusing. But I started watching something called American Horror Stories, not stories, stories, right? And it's really good. You should watch it. I highly recommend it. But anyway, that's all. But it's like really quick, right? And I flip through the channels and I see MSNBC, I keep flipping. I see Fox News, I keep flipping. I see CNN now, I keep flipping. CNN, in case you don't know, how many of y'all knew this, but CNN is in big trouble financially. Their ratings have tanked. They're getting rid of some of their biggest personalities. And I remember a time not too long ago where CNN was as big as it got. Like if I remember when I went on CNN in '06, '07, and times like that, I mean, it was like, ooh, this is the big time. Whenever something happens, CNN is there. Whenever you're in trouble, CNN is there. Whenever the news happens, CNN is there. Y'all remember that, right? So CNN, which actually I believe they got a lot of their strength and prominence around the OJ trial. The OJ trial created a lot of personalities. It also really, really pushed forward that idea of like a 24-hour news channel, and that's when CNN got their power. But I think they lost a lot of their power. I think they also lost a lot of credibility because they became very biased in their coverage. They used to just cover the straight news like NBC, CBS, ABC. I think they still do a pretty good job of that, kind of, for the most part. I mean, they're corporate media, sure, but they're not as bad as, MSNBC and Fox News. And CNN kind of became like kind of MSNBC light, and I felt like that was bad for their credibility. To be honest with you, I think that the news is valuable and journalists are valuable because you need somebody that's really going to be committed to telling the truth. And I feel like we've kind of lost that, in the last 20 years. But anyway, with that said, mainstream media is flopping. So now a lot of people get their news from the internet. They might go to X or they might go to YouTube or they might check out a podcast on Spotify. All I do is I listen to podcasts, tons of podcasts, and take in information constantly just to see what's going on in the world. And then I come talk to you and I look at what people are discussing and then I go process that. So really, Alex Jones was a part of and a beneficiary of the shifting of media, and I think that's a good thing. But unfortunately, there's not enough regulation there, and I'm curious to see at what point regulation steps in. There will be regulation at some point. It won't happen under the Trump administration, though, in my opinion, because the Trump administration is not pro-regulation. They actually want less regulation, and they're kind of really committed to the free speech idea, which is fine. But at some point, there's gonna be laws and rules and things you can and cannot say and stuff like that. And I'm gonna tell you, with the Sandy Hook thing, I didn't feel comfortable, just denying the deaths of all these little children. I know that probably wasn't the intention. Maybe he was just saying that they killed these kids to try to do something political. I get it, but I didn't need to hear that. That's not, dead kids is not something that's I don't want dead children on the menu that day. That doesn't make anybody feel good. So anyway, so with that said, the last piece on this with Alex Jones that I'll make in terms of a financial point is that it reminds me of things that I would say to a lot of rappers. When I would talk to them or talk to people that work with rappers, is I'd say, okay, the problem that you have is that your culture is not a wealth preserving culture. Unfortunately, a lot of hip hop, gangster rapish type stuff. I'm talking about Young Thug and so that type of stuff or drill music. If you ever heard drill music, it's crazy. Like it's in Chicago and it's like somebody go kill somebody and then go rap about it, which to me is the craziest thing in the world. If you're gonna kill somebody, don't tell nobody. You don't go make a song about it. Right? That's goofy right there. Right. But still though, like drill rap is dangerous, right? People really get shot and killed over drill rap. So I was like, well, it doesn't matter if you make any money because money ain't gonna matter if you dead. Is am I right or am I right? Like if you die, then all that, this idea that you can then go to an elementary school and tell all the kids like, hey, if you believe in yourself, one day you'll be like me. My teachers told me I wasn't gonna be nothing. Look at me. I'm little homie on the block making big money. I'm 22 years old and I make a 50,000 a show. But then a year later, little homie on the block is dead. He's in a cemetery. Why? What type of success is that? That's not a success story. That's a death story. Like so we make that mistake. But anyway, with that segment of hip hop, I'm not talking about all hip hop and all rappers, of course, and I'm really talking more so about the industry. I'm not really talking just if you're a rapper and if you're getting your panties in a bunch over what I say, don't get all offended by what I say because I ain't even talking to you. I'm talking to your daddy. Okay, I'm not talking. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to your daddy. Your daddy is the people writing them big ass checks, right? I'm talking about the people that own the record labels. I'm talking about the people that would go to a bank and borrow $100 million to invest in Killer Negro Records, right? So they're like, we got a new label. It's called Death to Negro Records, and we need $100 million. And they're like, oh, Death to Negro, that's gonna be lit. So they give them $100 million, and then they pay you. They find you when you're financially desperate because they know when you're desperate, you will do anything for money. You will literally say anything you want. You will literally recite words that the KKK can't say because you really need the money, and we're going to cheer for you because we don't know the difference between good money and bad money. We think that any black person who makes a couple of dollars is a success story, and nobody's going to give you any problems except for annoying assholes like me who are going to say, "Hold up, wait a minute, that's not good. Rapping about murdering black people, we should probably stop. That's a little racist." Well, but no, but he's black, so it can't be racist. No, no, that's still racist. You can have racism in blackface. Y'all know those minstrel shows where you had blackface, people had blackface. A lot of times those were not black people. They put on black makeup, right? So you're not really doing what you want to do. You're not exercising your will in that album. You're basically speaking the voice of your corporate overseer because I know how money works. And I know that the power belongs to the person who writes the check. He who has the gold makes the rules. And we know Massa got the gold. You ain't got no gold. You was in the projects a year ago. So stop it. Stop acting like you have free will and freedom of speech and arguing. I did a whole debate with Michael Eric Dyson at Brown University back in 2000 and something. I don't remember. You can go look it up. It's on the internet. And I love Mike, but I was like, man, this is how are you defending this bullshit? Excuse my friend. I'm cussing. I shouldn't cuss anymore. But I was like, how are you defending this crazy stuff, man? This is not artistic. I think he made a good argument. He's smart. I like Michael Eric Dyson, by the way. And he was talking about artistic expression and that. I'm like, this ain't no artistic expression. This is not art. This is corporate speech. These are corporations. This is racism. These are corporations that don't care about black people, that are paying black people money to say things that would make the KKK blush. I mean, I get called the N word in every other verse. You're disrespecting black women like crazy. You are mass promoting and selling ideas to children that are going to lead them to an early death. Drug addiction, violence. You're putting our kids in prison with these messages, man. And so why in the world do we think it's okay just because some white man wrote a check? Really, and that's the thing that I think we've got to kind of talk about. And so really to me the Alex Jones thing in terms of this guy saying anything to make money and being reckless and having it cost him financially reminds me of conversations that I would have with rappers. I'd say, well, if you are making millions of dollars promoting thug, gangster, criminal, death culture, and then you want to keep it real, so you're acting out thug, gangster, criminal, death culture in real life, then you might as well give all your money back right now because Massa gonna get everything in your bank account. Because you're gonna get sued one day. You're gonna go to the club, somebody gonna step on your toe, and because you a gangster and you want to keep it real, you're gonna pull out the strap, shoot somebody in the leg, and next thing you know, you'll end up in prison or dead or and broke because they're gonna sue you on your way to prison. Tory Lanez, Megan the Stallion, go look that up. If you don't know that, if you don't know these terms, just look them up. Megan the Stallion, she twerks a lot. She's very talented, but she likes to twerk. Um, so the point of the matter is to say What are we doing here? What's the point? What's the point in making yourself into a hamster on a hamster wheel? You're a hamster on the reason I say that is because hamsters on the hamster wheel, they work real hard, they run real fast, but you ain't going no damn where. So you working hard, hustling, going out, making all this bread, doing all these shows and making all this money. Everybody's cheering you on, saying that you're how great you are, but yet you are embracing a culture that is going to take away everything you've ever had anyway. I mean, a lot of those poor guys in Chicago that did the drill rap, they love drill rap because they love to watch black people kill each other because then they get we they get the bonus of watching us die, and then they also get the bonus of knowing that they can't be blamed for it, right? They're like, yeah, watching dead black boys is like a great sport for us. They like that, I think that there's something fundamentally concerning about the idea that that you can get 100,000 white people together who will cheer a black man on stage calling himself the N-word and literally rapping about killing black people and they're cheering for that, right? That does anybody else think that that's a little weird? I don't know. I'm like, has the world just lost his dang mind? So anyway, with that said though, there was a rapper who articulated it very well. His name is it's not Little Baby, or I think it's Da Baby. Everybody wants to be a baby. That's weird. I don't want to be a baby. But anyway, the rapper Da Baby was on the Breakfast Club, and he literally said something that I thought was very wise and profound. I was happy for him because I said, okay, thank you, young man. I congratulate you, brother, for waking up to this simple idea. He said, I used to be a guy who just would just do whatever. I wanted to show you how tough I was and all this other stuff. He said, then I started getting sued and I lost millions of dollars. He said, now I'm not doing none of that. I'm not, he said, I'm not, he said, I'll be the biggest punk in the world because what he was saying is, I'm going to protect my wealth. You're not going to bait me into a dumb situation so I can then lose all my money. And that's what it is. I mean, I was just sitting there thinking, okay, so if you're a rich rapper and I want to get some of your money, all I got to do is talk about you and embarrass you in front of your friends, and then you're gonna pop off and punch me or something, and then I get to sue you and I get $10 million for taking a punch from you. So of course, anybody who wants your money is going to trick you because you're thinking tiny, you're thinking small. There was another lady that I forgot her name. She used to be like she was a little controversial. She's very pretty. I think she was like 27, 28 years old, and she got pregnant with this NBA player's baby. But he wasn't in the NBA at the time. He played for Kentucky, and they gave her a hard time because she was like late 20s and he was like 19 or 20 years old, and she had a baby with him. And I forgot her name. Y'all can put her name in the chat because Deion Sanders actually brought her to come speak to the students at Jackson State, which I thought was actually a good idea. And she did a really interesting video where it's funny because she's like this Muslim now. I don't She's like taking on Islam. God bless her though. I wish her the best. I mean, Islam's good. Brittany Renner, thank you. Yeah. I mean, Islam, is that's a great thing to embrace. It's better than whatever she was embracing before, for sure. So anyway, she did this interesting video that I thought was really fascinating, where she basically talked about how stupid athletes are. I don't think they're stupid. She thought that they were stupid. She said athletes are dumb. She said if you want to have millions of dollars, just go and get pregnant with an athlete. She said they don't use condoms and they have sex with everybody. And so if you want some of their money, just go have a baby with an athlete. And I thought that was interesting. I'm not going to say smart or wise or profound because that's just nasty. Right? That's just because you're nobody talks about the STDs. I don't know why no one's interested in that, but it happens. And so anyway, but it was interesting though from a financial consciousness standpoint, because if you are not conscious of what you have and how to protect it, then a witty, conscious person is going to come in and take what you have. Like so this is why consciousness matters so much. And a lack of consciousness might be when think about it, when you're asleep, you're unconscious. When you are ignorant, you're unconscious. When you're unfocused, you're unconscious. And distracted, you're unconscious. When you're on drugs, you're high and drunk, you're unconscious. So people that make themselves vulnerable by not sort of committing to the idea of remaining conscious and aware, keeping their head on a swivel, being clear about what they're doing, who they're doing it with, where they're going, where they've been. People like that tend to get taken by society. You'll get robbed. And I still remember when I was on cruise ship one time, and I had just learned how to play poker. I like poker a lot. It's a great game of strategy, psychology, and math. I just don't like to gamble much, but I've won some poker tournaments, and because it's a fun sport. Anyway, I was on this ship, and there was this lady who was from Australia, and she was very rich, and she spent lots of money, and she had a lot of jewelry on, like a big old ring and stuff like and bracelets and all that. And she was playing poker, but she wasn't very good, and she was half drunk. And so she would just go in and just bet, like she'd go all in and bet $1,000 and have a terrible hand and, just crazy stuff that you just don't do in poker, right? Good poker players don't do that. But she didn't care. She was this white lady. She was white, Tammy. Yeah, this lady pretty much, just didn't care, right? She wasn't conscious of how much money she was wasting. The more she drank, the more she would just spend money, right? Or so at the same time, I was observing and I saw this guy, and you could tell this guy, he didn't look like he had a lot of money. He was also a white boy, so this is white on white crime. This ain't got no, only black people in the room was me, and I was just the Negro sitting by the door. I don't call myself a spook. I don't like that term, but yeah, that's what I was just I was just observing, and nobody knew I was a professor because I don't announce that to everybody. I'm just taking in data, and I was watching this guy, and he didn't look like he had a lot of money. He was young and he was good. I played head to head against him in poker. I could tell he knew what he was doing, and so he's sitting there, and I noticed how he was just watching that lady like a hawk. And what he was doing with all his consciousness is here, her consciousness is there, his wealth is down here, her wealth is up there. And he literally said, he said, I'm about to break this fool. He was like, I'm about to take all this lady's money. And that's what he did. He sat there and he would just wait for her to do something stupid. And he was just collecting, 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 collecting. He got probably $10,000 from that lady that night because his consciousness was here. Her consciousness was low. Her skill set was low. She was distracted. She was half drunk. So here's the deal. Here's the point. This is the problem I think that a lot of maybe rappers and entertainers might have is that you've got a lot of wealth and very low consciousness. Do you understand? Like your consciousness is low, unfortunately, because maybe you're distracted, maybe you just don't know how the world works yet because you're 19 years old. You're just you're paying attention to the booty and the bling and all that. You get pulled into any goofy situation. So you're not really thinking about the consequences of behavior, right? And you're in a culture where everything is encouraging you to just do stuff that's just not good for you, that's not going to be good for your life. And it doesn't matter if somebody like me comes along and says, "Hey, what are you doing? Like, let's not live like this," because I'm not interesting, right? There's nothing lit or cool about a 53-year-old finance professor, but because I'm not of the cult. I'm the guy who is going to say this is stupid. I'm not participating in any of this. So a lot of times when I talk like this, some of those guys, they won't pay attention to me. Like there's a rapper named Tyler, the Creator. I think he still hates my guts because I said some stuff, that he just didn't appreciate. And I would have loved to have talked to him. I would love to have mentored him. I would love to have sat on the phone with him and said, "Okay, let me just tell you what I see. Here's what." And I do have guys that do listen. Not everybody ignores me. Like D1 listens, and I appreciate that. I respect him for that. So, long story short, when you think that way, when you get yourself in those scenarios where your wealth is high and your consciousness is low, then that old saying comes into play. The old saying that I want you to remember is that a fool and his money will soon part ways. A fool and his money will soon part ways. So if you have a lot of resources and you don't also embrace the culture of wealth preservation required to protect those resources, if you don't embrace the pursuit of knowledge required to know what to do with those resources, then basically you're like a person who's been given a Lamborghini who never even took the time to get a driver's license. You will either never go anywhere with that car because you may not even know how to turn the damn thing on, and or if you figure out how to turn on the car, you're gonna crash it anyway. Do you understand? So wealth is something that and this is where I think black men especially have to learn this because too many black men, too many of us are influenced by the rappers. These are the ones that massa put up in front of you for you to look up to. And as we sort of have conversations about wealth, you have to understand that wealth culture, the culture of building wealth and preserving wealth tends to be somewhat conservative, not politically conservative. I'm talking about fiscally conservative. I'm talking about you're thinking about risk. You're managing the assets. You don't go around being flashy, showing everybody what you got, bragging about how much money you have, throwing it up in the air, acting a fool, engaging in various forms of what I refer to as economic immaturity. You have to learn how to be a grown ass man. Only a grown man can protect his wealth. A little boy is always going to lose it. So, what you have to fight against is the culture that encourages black men to act like little boys. We got a lot of little boys out here that look like grown men. Some of them are 50 years old, but they're in their head, they're teenagers. And until we confront that, then the wealth will never arrive, and the wealth, even if it arrives, the wealth will not stay. Trump, Kamala, whoever, could write a big check for reparations tomorrow, and that money will be gone in about in about 6 months. So culture has to come with the resources. So when you are dealing with your kids and your grandkids and your nieces and nephews and your heirs, and you're giving them this wealth that you are building, that you're working hard for right now, pass them the money, but pass them the culture, pass them the training, demand it, require it, expect it. If they embrace all of that, then guess what? They're not just going to have resources and be safe from this really dangerous, horrifically mean economy. This economy that really mistreats its workers. America is a country, unfortunately, this is terrible. America mistreats its workers. It mistreats poor people. We don't even halfway respect our veterans, and I think that that is appalling. That's ridiculous, right? So if when you're giving that wealth to the kids, you're protecting them from a lot of that, because if it's bad for white people, it's triply bad when you're black. We know these things, right? So you're not just protecting them from that by giving them the wealth, but you're also teaching them how to grow the assets. Just like in football, once you learn how to protect the ball, then you can start moving the ball down the field. Then you go from strugglenomics to powernomics. And that's when B1 people and our descendants start taking over the world. That's when we start organizing and mobilizing and preparing to control entire territories, entire countries, running entire industries. That's why before this century is up, we will have that first black trillionaire who's going to have all these principles that we're talking about and execute that in a way where he's delegating in a or she delegating in a space with other people that are like-minded, and they literally go through the world and they call the shots. No more victimhood. We don't live in the world. We're not, don't, God did not put you on earth to be nobody's damn victim. God put you on earth to be a winner. It's going to take some work to get there. It's going to take some sacrifice. It's going to take some consistency. All right. So anyway, I'm done. I don't have anything else to say. I'm gonna go ahead and bounce out for today. Just so y'all know, tomorrow we are going to meet again, 10 a.m. We do this every single day, and don't forget that tonight we are doing that special training, how to turn your child into a millionaire, and we'll cover three models we developed in the Black Business School that are foolproof, that have already worked. We've already got kids that have been with us for many years who are already doing quite well. And one is the KID model, knowledge, investment, discipline. Two is the sturdy model, systems, technology, entrepreneurship, relationships, and delegation for the youth. And then three is the poise model, producer, owner, investor, saver, entrepreneur. So I'm going to break this down for you tonight at 8 o'clock. If you'd like to join, you can do one of two things. Either check out, wait for the text by getting on the text list. To get on the text list, you text the word morning, MORNING, to the number 87948. Text morning to 87948. Or you can go to kiddyboss.com if you want to sign up right now. Just go to KIDDIE, kiddyboss.com. All the materials are yours for life. You'll get the slides. You can also bring your whole family. So you don't have to buy admission for 2 or 3 people. Just bring everybody and we'll just pretend like you're one person. Okay, fair enough. Is that cool? Okay, so feel free to go to kiddyboss.com if you want to join us tonight. God bless you guys. Have a good night. Or good day. Sorry. I'll see